So it's now been about, I don't know, 5 days since I left the farm, 6 days since I left the farm. I still miss it very, very much. Allison sends me pictures and dispatches on a nightly basis on what's happening. Zach's been doing a great job taking care of Toby Dog and all the other animals. But I will admit that I'm still very homesick. But the one thing that I feel like has really alleviated my homesickness is every single time I come outside and walk to the convention center where I have to go to start my day, I have been stopping and visiting with the flamingos. Yes, that's right, I said the flamingos. I think you probably saw it in the last video I made. The hotel I'm staying at has this flock of flamingos that just sort of hang out around their place, and I have become absolutely obsessed with these flamingos that they have here. And I absolutely mean to use the word obsessed. The flamingo housing is just a little bit further down this way, so let's go. Hey there, how's it going, guys? Good morning. Like I said, they're like pink geese that got stretched out. Given my daily visits with the flamingos, I have begun the process of researching what it would take to get flamingos. I mean, given some of my past experience, the idea of me having flamingos isn't completely insane, is it? I mean, look, let's reflect upon the realities of the situation. I'm a guy who has a duck and goose farm. I am familiar with waterfowl, very familiar with waterfowl. And based on some of the research that I've been doing, I would say that flamingos are more closely related to ducks than they are to geese. Ducks are part of the animal family known as Anatidae, and so that's where all the ducks kind of gravitate and live. Flamingos, on the other hand, are part of their own unique animal family known as Phenocopteridae. Or Copteridae. I could never be a dude like David Attenborough because my pronunciations are horrid. Their diet relies more on fish than, say, ducks, but they both do their certain level of filter feeding, and they are also both omnivorous. In terms of what it would take to raise a flamingo, it's not too hard. I would imagine probably what I would do is get some flamingo hatching eggs off the internet, and then I would incubate those hatching eggs. They take about 28 days to incubate a flamingo hatching egg. And then once I've incubated that egg, I would hatch it out and I'd have a couple baby flamingos. Those baby flamingos would essentially be, you know, something that I would raise in a brooder, much like I raise my ducks and geese. And so it seems entirely feasible that I could probably start a flamingo farm. You know, because once I have those first couple flamingos, if I could hopefully have a male and a female, I could start to breed them and hatch more eggs and get more birds. Would you guys look? She's doing flamingo chores, kind of like I have to do duck and goose chores.
So thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful morning, and we hope you continue to follow us. Alrighty, so you guys can come on in and join us on this meal. We're just gonna actually be doing this right about here or so, do like a semi-circle. Just gonna allow the birds to get nice and comfortable. So what I'm gonna do is introduce them to you guys, okay? So we have number one right here. This is Baha. Baha's named after the Hotel Bahamas. And then we have number two, that is Lyndon. Lyndon's named after the first Prime Minister of the Bahamas. And we have number three, I think is right on over there. Her name is Luca. Luca is named after the indigenous people of the Bahamas, which are the Lucayan Indians. She's giving you guys a little bow, a little stretch. Then we have number 11 right here, and that is Indy. She's named after our Independence Day. So if anyone here is wondering, why in the world is it 1, 2, 3, 11? Alright, so we do have 4 of our ambassadors here at Bahamar. However, number 11 is our, stay with me, our favorite keeper's favorite number. Alright, and that was her favorite one. So she went ahead and did 11, alright, just for a little personality there. In the late 1950s, these guys had a population of about 4,000 or so, or barely that. So with flamingos, that's a pretty low number. So what the government did is implemented something called the Bahamas National Trust, and their first project was the Flamingo Project, to get those numbers up a bit more. So what they did is implemented rules and regulations because the numbers were being low due to poaching, okay, for their meat and for their feathers. So they placed wardens on islands of the Bahamas, where most of the flamingos reside is on the island of Anagua. And that number went from below 4,000 all the way to, you ready? Drum roll, 62,000 flamingos, yes, to date. So once upon a time, we barely had flamingos, and now we have one of the third largest breeding flocks. So hands up, hand clap for that. That's really good. Yeah.
You know, we have a lot of viewers who are often asking me, when am I gonna get peacocks or peafowl? Or when am I gonna get like a rhea, like my buddy Ben at the Urban Rescue Ranch? Or am I gonna get emus like my friend Jake over at White House on the Hill? And I actually have never had any plans to get any of those exotic birds. But for some reason, being down here, being around all these flamingos, it really does have me thinking about doing it. But then my flamingo dreams hit a big old brick wall when I come to terms with the fact that I live in Vermont. And flamingos are most definitely tropical birds. Like, could you imagine a flamingo living in -20-degree weather for like 2 weeks straight? Because that's not uncommon at all at our farm. And so that in and of itself has me questioning the possibility and feasibility of this plan. I did take a little time and do a little bit of research, and in theory, flamingos can actually exist in relatively cold weather. They have longer legs, which are not insulated by feathers. Those feathers would actually keep them warm enough in terms of their body, but I would be very afraid of frostbite on their long limbs. And when I really think about it, it's so counter to the core principles that I have for our farm. You know, so much of what we're trying to do with our farm is really be in harmony with nature and have an ecosystem of a farm that all works together, and having the animals work well with the climate and the habitat. I could maybe add heating elements and other things to survive our cold Vermont winters, but I don't even think I could remotely be able to do it in a way where it's actually good for the environment and good for the animals. I mean, when you take an animal and take it far, far, far away from the context it's supposed to live in, you're not doing anybody any good. I mean, these flamingos are designed to live in a tropical environment. Our ducks and geese, while they're not exactly natural, we do have wild ducks and geese that come and visit our farm, so I feel like our farm is a much more hospitable environment for those ducks and geese. I'm never getting like migratory flamingos coming up to Vermont, so you'd really have to think about it that way. And so these guys wouldn't be suited for our farm, just like if you can see all my sweat that's dripping down, I'm probably not suited for down here in the Caribbean. I think the other part of all this too is that when I think about our farm goals, I really want our farm to be a sustainable business, and finding a business model with flamingos would be tough. I think the only real business model I could think of actually working would be to be raising flamingos to sell hatching eggs and breeding stock to other people. And if I'm only doing that and I'm not raising them for some sort of food product, I just feel like that's one big animal pyramid scheme where I'm trying to recruit people to ultimately sell more birds and have their own birds. And I don't know, that doesn't feel very good. So while I enjoy visiting these flamingos every single day, I also recognize that the thought experiment of adding these flamingos to our farm really begins and ends as I stand out here and visit them every morning at this hotel. I do wonder what Toby Dog would think of these things. I mean, I bet he'd be pretty friendly to them, but at first he would be very confused by them too.
But all that said, doesn't mean I can't appreciate them for the pretty birds that they actually are. Hey guys.